Boyhood is directed by Richard Linklater and stars, sorry, I can't remember their names. It stars Patricia Arquette, Eller Coltrane, Lorelai Linklater, and Ethan Hawke. And this is basically one of the most unique movies ever made. Like, it started filming in 2002 and went up to 2014, and it basically chronicles the story of a family, mainly concentrating on a young boy named Mason, growing up from age 6 to age 18, along with his sister, Sam, and their mother, and her dealing with things like her ex-husband, who is basically Mason and Sam's biological father, and then, you know, she has other relationship stuff, and, you know, basically it's a story about growing up, and so it doesn't really have that much of a plot so much as it is just about watching him grow up. It's a very fascinating idea for a movie, and I have a lot to say about this thing. For example, I'm not going to call this movie amazing just because of that. I'm not going to garner critical acclaim because I have honest problems with this movie. So let's get started. First off, the acting. It's really interesting because it doesn't even feel like acting. It feels like natural conversations that people have. Like, you know, the kid who plays Mason, you can see, and the girl who plays Sam, their acting, like, gets better as they go along. As, you know, they're little kids, they're not that great, but, you know, you see them get more emotionally involved with the plot later on, and, you know, when they become older and stuff. I'd say around when they're 10, 12 years old is when they really get their best, I'd say. And, you know, it really gets interesting along the way. And, you know, their mother, you can really understand her struggle because, you know, she's divorced, she's a single mother trying to raise them, and she tries dating other men, but a lot of them are not very nice people, as we see. And, you know, I really sympathize with her and understand her struggle. Like, I mean, I'm not, and, you know, Ethan Hawke plays his biological dad, and he was my favorite part of the movie. Like, he was a really nice guy. Like, this guy is a good father. Like, I really liked him, but it begs the question, why did the mother and father split up if he was such a nice guy and didn't have many problems? I don't know, and it's one of many problems that I feel the movie doesn't tell you enough. Like, that's a big problem I have with this movie. It doesn't tell you enough about, like, plot and the characters. Like, there are many things about this movie that you would like to see explained, that it kind of just jumps over them. It doesn't really tell you about it. Like, the movie starts off with them divorced. Like, I'd like to know why they got divorced, and, you know, I know Ethan Hawke says somewhere, like, well, we didn't really work out that well, and it wasn't that healthy for us to stay together. And I'd like, because? Why? And there's other scenes where, like, she's dating some other guy, and then the next scene they're married. And, you know, it really feels like it jumps along a lot. And I understand the point of that, but that's a problem I have with this movie. And I feel like the scenes that are in the movie, some of them go nowhere and really aren't that important. And I understand the excuses like, well, this is a movie about life, and, you know, there are moments in life that really don't add up to who we're going to be, and they're just that, they're moments. And I understand that. I respect the movie for doing that, but I'm going to judge it as a movie, and some of those scenes didn't really go nowhere and add to the plot. Because the fact of the matter is, this movie is really long. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's really long, and I honestly don't feel the long time justifies it. Like, it's too long for its own good. It overstays its welcome, honestly. And, you know, I really feel that, you know, if it were shorter, I would have liked it more. Like, cut out the unnecessary scenes and put in the more necessary scenes, and maybe leave, like, the whole thing in for, like, a 3.5 hour director's cut. That would have been fine. And I'm not really sure if I would have liked it, but I don't know, they could have done that, because some of the scenes that don't go anywhere, I don't really like them all. Like, there's this one scene where, like, Mason is 12 or so and in 8th grade, and, like, he gets invited to, like, the seniors in high school's house and, like, break stuff and drink beer and stuff, and they talk about how they're gonna get girls and stuff, and I'm like, this scene is annoying and it's going nowhere, and I don't like it. Why was it in the movie? I mean, it doesn't really do anything, so, I don't know. It's kind of weird, though. The fact of the matter is, it's really interesting how the overall theme of the movie about, like, growing up and these moments in life, I respect it for that, but the thing is, I feel like those scenes, when you put them in a movie, they don't really make the movie that entertaining, because I'm going to be perfectly honest, there were a few parts in the movie where I was having a lot of fun, and a lot of parts where I was really bored, but most of my thoughts is just kind of indifferent. Like, some of the scenes, they just go on, and they're not really that interesting, and they don't really capture my attention. Like, some of them, you know, I like some of the characters. I mainly like the adult characters. Like, Mason, he's alright, but the problem with Mason is we don't really know a whole lot about him by the end of the movie. I kind of feel like the script, like, could have incorporated us so we learn more about Mason, because I honestly don't feel we learn enough about, like, his personality or whatever, because it feels sporadic as he ages, and, you know, Sam, like, at the beginning, she's kind of a jerk to Mason, and, you know, by the end, I really didn't learn that much about her either. We learned a lot more about the adult characters and stuff. And that's just a flaw I have with the movie. Like, I feel like it doesn't use the time it has, like, in the best way possible. But, you know, if it sounds like I'm really being harsh on the movie, I'm not, because it's really well made. Like, it's well shot, the acting is pretty good. It doesn't even feel like it. It feels like natural conversation. It's a very solid and well made movie. Even if the writing could have been better, the fact of the matter is, it seemed to focus more on being like this piece of art, and I feel it really succeeds in terms of like being an art piece. That, like, you know, the aging, it's a really cool idea, and I think they did well with it. Like, you know, it just wouldn't have been the same movie if you just shot it over like 4 or 6 months as normal films do. Like, I feel like shooting it over the years, that's the best way the movie could have been done. I just wish they used the time better and, you know, did it with a better script. Because I actually read up, and this movie started without a finished script, but the director knew how it was going to end, so I think that's alright, but, you know, I kind of wish, again, my main problems with the movie is that I don't think it uses those scenes well enough. I don't like all of the characters, and, you know, some of the scenes go nowhere. Like, another example of a scene that goes nowhere is, like, when Mason's, like, 7th grader goes to a new school or whatever. He, like, goes into the bathroom, and then there are these bullies who are making fun of him, and the bullies never appear ever again. Like, I really feel like if the movie wanted to be, like, this whole growing up, like, then Mason should have, like, there should have been, like, a scene where Mason is, like, about to leave, and he's, like, in high school, and he's, like, telling the bullies off, or something like that, to show that he conquered them, and that's a huge missed opportunity, I feel. Like, again, a lot of this movie feels like a missed opportunity, but again, I feel like it does really well, like, as an art piece, you know? It really symbolizes growing up, and to those of you, you know, if you have divorced parents, or you have siblings, or whatever, you might connect with this movie. I'm an only child with parents who are still together, and they like each other, so I can't really connect to that, but, you know, it's really cool, because I'm going through, like, the same period that Mason is going through. Like, I'm 16, I'm going to be 18, I'm going to have to start worrying about college when I go back to school. It's interesting, and it's kind of relatable in that regard. And it's pretty interesting the way the movie is, because the more I thought about this movie after I finished watching it, the more I started to appreciate it. But, like, as I was watching the movie, I wasn't having that much fun. I was simply, you know, watching it and looking at it as, like, art. And, you know, that's the bottom line I say about Boyhood. If you look at it as a piece of art rather than a movie, in terms of how well made it is, then it's definitely a great movie. But if you watch it as, like, an enjoyable movie that, you know, you watch to have fun, you're not really gonna get that. It's really weird in that regard, but I can't recommend this movie to, you know, people who just want a fun movie. Like, you know, this isn't one of those fun movies. It's one of those interesting movies that you gotta watch, and you gotta accept that it's art, accept that it's gonna be well made, but not completely enjoyable and stuff. And it's made more for that purpose. And if you love those films, then by all means, Boyhood, you're gonna love it. Like, people love this thing. I'm really surprised it didn't win Best Picture. Like, I thought it would have been an instant win. But, you know, Birdman won. I haven't seen Birdman, but it's probably good. I don't know. Well, won Best Picture, of course it's gonna be good. Whatever. The point is, Boyhood is an interesting movie. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I appreciate a lot of things about it. It's well made, well acted, it's just not the most fun thing in the world. But it's a great piece of art if you're looking at it that way. It's more of an artistic, artsy film, and, you know, that's the bottom line about it, you know. And I don't see myself watching the movie again. Like, I have this because a friend of mine bought it because his mother likes the director, and they watched it, and he really didn't like this movie, so I was, like, asking him about the movie, and he said, here, take it, by all means. You're just doing me a favor by taking it off my hands. So I have the Boyhood Blu-ray. If he wants it back, then whatever, even though he doesn't like it. You know, I don't know if I'll ever watch this movie again, like, in my lifetime, or, well, maybe in my lifetime, some other time, but, like, not anytime soon. But whatever, I'm done. Boyhood's gonna get an interesting rating. So it's gonna be different. So I'm gonna rate this movie as a movie and as sort of artistic piece. So if you're looking at Boyhood as a movie, enjoyable and stuff, I'd give it maybe 80%. It's well made and all that stuff, but it's not all that fun to watch, and that's kind of the biggest problem with it, even though everything else is solid. However, if you're looking at it in terms of artistic perspective and all the things it does, all the themes of growing up and all those little moments not really adding up in the end, but just being moments in life, and, you know, growing up, all that stuff, the movie does it really well, and because of that, I'll give it, in that aspect, a 90%. So I guess if I want to give this movie an overall score, it'd be 85. So, which is like A minus, whatever. But, you know, if I were to judge this movie, normally it'd be like B plus or whatever. It's interesting. It's not for everyone. I'd say watch this movie once, and, you know, you don't really have to see it again, but that's basically it. That's really all I have to say about Boyhood. And, you know, you can leave your thoughts. If you want to argue with me, fine. I'll stand by it. I don't hate this movie, but I don't think it's all that great as a normal movie. I'm not just gonna say it's amazing just because of everything. So, you know, that's it. That's it for Boyhood. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Adios, home slices.